The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com.
Good evening, Council. This is Greg Chaptelaine, the purchasing agent.
Good evening,
And I'm
Chaptelaine.
Good evening, Councilor. And I'm not necessarily wishing to speak on anything, but out of respect to the Council, there is an article tonight. It's C-76 that involves me. So I'm participating in the meeting in case at that time when that comes up, if any of the councilors have any questions for me, I am here available to answer anything anybody would like to discuss.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chaptelaine. Is there any, I'll ask a second time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the City Council in the public forum? And a third and final time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the City Council in the public forum? Hearing none, I will declare the public forum closed. We will now begin the regular meeting of the City Council at 7 o'clock, starting with the roll call of councilors in attendance. Councilor Frida.
It's not 7 quite yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. But I do believe we have Pauline Cormier on the line.
I am.
Perfect. And Frank, are you also on the line?
Correct, I am.
Perfect. And Claire will be coming on momentarily. I think she just joined. Claire, is that you?
It's me. Sorry.
Perfect. It's okay.
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes yet. Unusual
Going better
circumstance.
than the license. Going better than the license commission. I was on that meeting and awful. They couldn't get anybody. We couldn't communicate either way.
I'm not used to this lapse in time. We usually have to recess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Am I the last on?
Yes. But that's okay. You're on. It counts.
Well, I'm not late.
Hey,
Not-
Caitlin,
Yes.
it's John. Before we start the meeting, can I just talk to Greg Chaptelaine real quick?
Is it about the
Okay.
item that's on the agenda?
Yeah,
No.
I just don't want him to, I got to schedule a public hearing, so I just didn't want him to waste his time hanging around.
Oh, that's fine. That's informational.
Yeah, so I don't know if Greg heard that or.
I am here, yes.
Yeah, Greg, I've got to schedule a public hearing for that matter, so we're not going to really get into the merits of it at all tonight. And
Okay.
I didn't want you, ruining your night waiting for us to call it. That's all.
I find the council agenda and meetings fascinating. Not a waste of my
I'm
evening.
sure you. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Well, feel free to hang around.
That's why you've
I
been
do
in all
thank
the
you for that
others, right,
consideration.
Frank?
That's right. I do thank you for that consideration. If there aren't
Yeah,
going to
no.
be any questions, since you're having a public media schedule, and I won't stay for the meeting unless anybody would like me to.
It'll just be regular course, I would imagine.
It's already regular course. We just were waiting for referrals back
Oh,
from
public
the
hearing.
mayor. Yeah. So Greg,
Yeah,
it's
so-
going to be May 10th at Where's my
Okay.
note? 6:25, I believe.
I could. 6:25, right.
Perfect.
Okay, very good then. I will let you be then. Thank you very much, Counselor.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in as well.
Not a problem. Have a good evening, everyone.
Hi, Greg.
Good night,
Bye.
Greg. Councilor
After 7
Cormier's
o'clock.
clock is not official.
My Apple phone says it's 7.
iPhone
My
says
Apple
6:59, and it's an Apple product as well.
Really? I guess
I got Apple, it says 7. No, my
Now
Apple
it's
phone's
7.
an 01 now.
Yeah,
7:01.
okay. I got 7. All right, I'll call the meeting to order, starting with the attendance of the City Council. Councilor Frida,
Present.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
My understanding is Councilor Feckley is absent this evening. Councilor Angelini,
Present.
Councilor Ardinger,
Present.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Present.
Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
I shall be recorded as present. We have 8 members of the City Council present, 1 absent. Given the Vice President is absent, I will forestall once again the approval of the records until the next meeting.
Mr. President, are we going to do a salute to the flag?
Yes, we are. Let us all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag
of the United States of
of the United
America
States of America
and to the
and to
republic
the republic
for which it stands,
One nation.
one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty,
With
justice.
Justice for all.
Okay, now we'll go ahead to communications from the mayor, starting with C-77.
C-77, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request that an appropriation of $450,000 be made to the Wire Department Capital Outlay Expense Account, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund, regarding improvements at the intersection of Nelson Street and North Main Street.
C-77 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, and I believe also that this is going to be amended, and it's actually going to be C-78. We already have had a C-77, so it's actually going to be C-78.
Want to take care of that now?
Sure, we can do that. I'll make a motion that we change this C-77 for $450,000 to C-78.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Pauline Cormier. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The motion carries by a vote of 8-0. C-77 is relabeled to C-78. We'll now move on to appointments. And Madam Clerk, if you want to read these in block, these are all reappointments, I understand.
That sounds great.
You do that.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Andriana Fotakis to the Council on Aging, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Betty David to the Council on Aging, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Larry Giannakis, Sr. to Council on Aging, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Rodney Schaefer to the Cultural Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Chester Carter to the Historical Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Michael Kerrigan to the Historical Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Patrick Lapointe to the Historical Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Ronald Gerard to the Historical Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Mark Bedanza to the Library Board of Trustees, term to expire 4/15/2024. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the reappointment of Lawrence L. Nafor to the Library Board of Trustees, term to expire 4/15/2024.
Madam Clerk, if you'll note my abstention from my own reappointment for obvious reasons.
Of course.
But if you could please refer these to the acting Ways and Means Chair, which would be Councilor Frida. I'd appreciate that.
Councilor Frida?
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. But unless anyone has anybody that they'd like to interview, these are reappointments, so no interview would really be required. So it would be regular course and block.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda, starting with 61-21.
61-21, Entertainment Cinemas Boulevard, request to renew theater license located at 45 Sac Boulevard.
61-21 is referred to the acting Ways and Means Chairwoman.
Yes, Mr. President, 61-21 will be given regular course. I'd just like to add, though, it's referrals to the police. I'd like to have the treasurer in there as well.
We actually have the treasurer's back, and it's good to go. That's why it's not on there.
Okay, all right, perfect.
All right, great. So 61-21 is given regular course with the referral to the treasurer's office received and a referral pending to the police department. Moving on to 62-21.
62-21, Protect Solutions, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 345 Central Street.
62-21 is referred to the acting chairwoman of Ways and Means.
62-21 will be given regular course.
Very well. 62-21 has been given regular course. Moving on to 63-21.
May I do 63-21 through 68-21 in block, Mr. President?
You may, unless there's an objection from someone. Okay, go ahead.
63-21, Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid, requests permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way: Queens Road, Massachusetts Electric, Queens Road, pole on Queens Road beginning at a point approximately 30 feet east of the center line of the intersection of Elm Street and continuing approximately 24 feet in a north direction. Install one stud pole with an anchor to support an existing pole line due to the residents of 40 Queens Road removing a tree that has an existing guy wire installed in it. 64-21, Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid, requests permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way: White Street, National Grid to install one SO pole on White Street, beginning at a point approximately 290 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Ridgewood Drive, and continuing approximately 15 feet in an east direction. Install new poles, number 6, with anchor to serve as MBTA meter pole. 65-21, Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid, requests permission to excavate the public highways and to run and maintain underground electric conduits, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary for the transmission of electricity. Said underground conduits to be located substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith marked Hamilton Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. The following are the streets and highways referred to: Plan number 25301-479, Hamilton Street. Install conduit from main MH number 5385 on Main Street to MH number 5384 on Hamilton Street. Install conduit from MH number 5384 on Hamilton Street to riser pole 44 on Hamilton Street. Install conduit from MH number 5384 to riser pole 66 on Main Street. 66-21, Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid, requests to excavate the public highways and to run and maintain underground electric conduits, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary for the transmission of electricity. Said underground conduits to be located substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith marked Nashua Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. The following are the streets and highways referred to: Plan number 25301-479, Nashua Street. Install conduit from form MH number 5385 on Main Street to MH number 5230 MH number 5230 to be installed on Nashua Street. From MH 5230 on Nashua Street, install conduit to MH number 5383 on Main Street. 67-21, Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid. Request to excavate public highways and to run and maintain underground electric conduit together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it might find necessary for the transmission of electricity. Said underground conduits to be located substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith, marked Prospect Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. The following other streets and highways referred to: plan number 25301-479, Prospect Street from MH number 5386 on Main Street. Install conduit to MH number 5387 on Prospect Street. Install MH number 5387 on Prospect Street. 68-21, Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid. Request to excavate the public highways and to run and maintain underground electric conduit together with such necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary for the transmission of electricity. Said underground conduit to be located substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith, marked River Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. Plan number 25301-479, River Street from MH number 5383 on Main Street. Install conduit to MH number 5382 on River Street. Install MH number 5382 on River Street. From MH number 5382 on River Street, install conduit to riser pole 2 on River Street.
63-21 through 68-21 are referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Going back to 63-21, we need to establish a hearing date of 5/10 at 6:41 p.m.
Very well. You've heard the request to establish the hearing date on 63-21 for May 10th at 6:41 p.m. Any discussion? All those in favor of establishing that hearing date, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The hearing date is established by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to 641-21.
64-21 will be given regular course. We need to establish a hearing date for 5/10/21 at 6:42 p.m.
You've heard the request to establish a hearing date of May 10th at 6:42 p.m. on petition 64-21. Any discussion necessary? Hearing none, all those in favor of establishing the aforesaid hearing date and time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The hearing date is established for May 10th at 6:42 p.m. on 64-21 by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to 65-21.
65-21 be given regular course with a hearing date on 6:43 on May 10th.
Very well. You've heard
Okay.
you've heard the request to establish a hearing date on 65-21 for May 10th, 2021 at 6:43 p.m. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of establishing the aforesaid hearing date and time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? By a vote of 8-0, a hearing date is established for May 10th, 2021 at 6:43 p.m. on 65-21. Moving on to 66-21.
66-21 will be given regular course. We need to establish a hearing date for May 10th at 6:44.
Very well, you've heard the request to establish a hearing date of May 10th, 2021 at 6:44 p.m. for 66-21. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the aforesaid hearing date, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, a hearing date is established for petition 66-21 of May 10th, 2021 at 6:44 p.m. Moving on to 67-21.
67-21 will be given regular course. We need to establish a hearing date for 6:45 at 6:45 on May 10th, 21.
Very well, you've heard the request to establish the hearing date of May 10th at 6:45 for 67-21. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of establishing the aforesaid hearing date and time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, the hearing date established for 67-21 is May 10th, 2021 at 6:45 p.m. And finally, 68-21.
68-21, related to all the similar to the others, given regular course for the hearing date of May 10th at 6:46 p.m.
Very well. You've heard the request to establish the hearing date for 68-21 of May 10th, 2021 at 6:46 p.m. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very well. By a vote of 8-0, the hearing date of May 10th, 2021 at 6:46 p.m. is established for petition 68-21. Moving on to petition 69-21.
Excuse me, 69-21. Sterling Jewelers Inc., doing business as K Jewelers, number 1285, request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 100 Commercial Road Mall at Whitney Field.
69-21 is referred to the acting chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yep, 69-21 will be recommended for a regular course.
Very well. 69-21 has been given regular course. Moving on to 70-21.
70-21, Angela Chebesky, Conservation Agent, request to amend Chapter 21 of the revised ordinance entitled Water and Sewers, Article 6, Stormwater and Erosion Control Regulations and Stormwater Ordinance by inserting new definitions and updating the language as attached.
Very well. 70-21 is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course with a referral to the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and the DPW. We also need to establish a public hearing for May 10th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m.
Okay. You've heard the request for a regular course with referral to Conservation, Planning, and DPW, as well as a request for a hearing date establishment of May 10th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of establishing the aforesaid hearing date and time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, hearing date of May 10th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. is established for petition 70-21 with referrals to Conservation, Planning, and DPW. We'll now move on to matters before the City Council. And Mr. Chairman, can you just confirm whether we have a financial report or not this evening?
President, the city clerk has informed me that she's not been able to obtain that from the office. I do apologize. We do not have one tonight. I will do my best to make sure we hopefully can get one weeks from now.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to C-70. Is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. C-70, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $35,000 be made to the assessor's expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the assessor's salary and wages account. This is regarding an appraisal service for Whitney Field abatement and cyclical inspection services for all properties. I did have a conversation today with Bill Connor, the assessor, and he did inform me that what's actually happening is obviously we have an issue with the mall and their valuation. As you can imagine, given the circumstances, the vacancies, and there's a lot of devaluation of properties such as that. So that become an issue. But he also informed me that if any community that has a mall in their community, that DLS has been requiring that they get this type of thing done because there is a lot of questions about the values of malls right now. So it would be my recommendation that we grant this appropriation so that we can get this resolved and go from there. So I'll ask you to check with members of my committee. I do
Okay.
have a short, if you want me to read it into the record. This is on April 1st from Bill Connor. He was writing a request for a transfer of funds from the assessor's salaries to the assessor's contract services. So it is an interdepartmental transfer because we did save money on salaries last year because there was a vacancy or two for a period of time. And it just explains that these funds are going to be used for an independent appraisal of the mall at Whitney Field, a pending appellate tax board case. In addition, the remaining funds will be used toward data collection services to remain on the 10-year schedule of cyclical inspections of all Leominster parcels as required by the Department of Revenue. So that is basically, in a nutshell, the purpose of this communication. And once again, I'll ask you to check with members of my committee.
Very well. Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Thank you. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-70. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, I just have one quick comment.
Yes, Councilor Frida.
Councilor Frida. I support this, obviously, but do we have any indication as to what type of revenue loss we could be suffering with this potential case? So I think it's substantial.
Yeah, no, if I may, Mr. President, I did have a conversation today with Bill Connor. He does think it will be minimal, but he is on the line. If you have a question or two, we could request a recess if you want to ask him a couple of quick questions. But he wasn't indicating to me that there could be a huge impact. There could obviously be some, but if you want to ask him that question directly, you can ask for a recess, and he's here.
No, that's fine. I just like to stay informed, though.
Yeah, no, through the chair, I agree. I mean, we all know that any kind of obviously this is the biggest taxpayer in the city, so any kind of a major loss, it doesn't just evaporate. It gets shifted to the taxpayers. We need, the taxpayers need to be aware that one way or another we need to collect X amount of dollars to run the city, and one way or another we're going to. So if $5 million isn't coming from the mall, it's going to be shifted all around and come from other sources. So we've been through this before, and depending on how big the impact is, we'll certainly all feel it. So I definitely agree it is concerning, but he does not think it's going to be major, but we'll see. It has to work itself out.
I just feel it's going to be substantial. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0. C-70 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, ordered that the sum of $35,000 be made to the assessor's expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the assessor's salary and wages account. This is once again regarding appraisal services for Whitney Field abatement and cyclical inspection services for all properties. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say yay.
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 Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to C-71, is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-71, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $50,000 be made to the municipal building expense account, the same amount transferred from the stabilization fund. This is regarding to fund building improvements for city buildings, including 210 Lancaster Street. We do have a letter here. Peter Nile is requesting $50,000. These funds are need to pay for the utilities, as well as miscellaneous expenditures such as tools and equipment and maintenance, telephone, etc. This year, any bills for 210 Lancaster Street have been paid out of this account. Due to that, there is a shortage within the current budget. So as everyone knows, the fire department is looking to take over that building, but in the meantime, the funds to maintain that building has been coming out of this account that we're mentioning here, and they do need to transfer those funds so that they, can have them available for these types of bills. So it would be my recommendation, Mr. President, that we grant C-71, and I'll ask you to check with members of my committee.
Very well. Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-71. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arninger, Councilor Arninger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0. C-71 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, ordered that the sum of $50,000 be made to the municipal building maintenance expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund, once again regarding to fund building improvements for city buildings, including 210 Lancaster Street. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, the order is adopted. Moving on to C-72, is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. C-72, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $17,070 be made to the municipal building expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This is regarding additional bat removal costs at 210 Lancaster Street. As everyone knows, 210 Lancaster Street was kind of abandoned for a short time in between the police department vacating whatever operations they had there, and then the fire department going in and taking it over. There was a bat problem there, and in case anybody isn't aware, I believe it's mass state law. Bats have to be removed in a certain manner, so that was costly. And then, of course, when you have bats living up in there, they make quite the mess. There's a lot of droppings and stuff of that nature. So then they had to go in and hire ServPro to come in and clean that all up. So, these were all these costs associated with this. So it would be my opinion, Mr. President, that we grant C-72, and I will ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay. Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I will make it unanimous, Mr. President.
Thank you. You've heard the unanimous recommendation from the Finance Committee to grant C-72. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, this is Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yes, Councilor.
I have a question. I'm looking at the attached letter from Chris Knuth, the Director of the Health Department. And the letter reads as though he's asking for an additional $1,070 for the work. And that increase was because the cost of the lift that the company is going to rent, the cost of that has specifically increased. But the letter says, last fall, we received 2 bids. The low bidder bid $16,000, which has been appropriated. This spring, we were informed the cost of the lift they will run to the job increased to $1,070. Therefore, we are asking to appropriate this additional amount of money to get the work completed. So in my reading of it, it looks like the health director is only asking for the additional $1,070. And I'm wondering if the cover letter, which asks for $17,070, is a typo? Because it does indicate that the $16,000 was already appropriated.
Yeah, the chair, I do see what you mean. Well, I mean, I spoke to the fire chief about this, and, you know, he did mention that they had to have ServPro go in there, which they weren't, I don't think they were planning on. So, what was put on the agenda and what matches the cover, matches the cover letter, but then they're talking about an increase of $1,070. I mean, if you want, I can check into it. We can give this further time, and I can look into it if you'd like. But unfortunately, at this moment, I don't know at this point.
If you, no, that would be helpful to me because they just don't match. You know, the request indicates it's only looking for $1,000 basically, and it says that the bulk of the money, the $16,000, had already been appropriated. So there must, there's a little bit of confusion. So I would appreciate certainly, Councilor Cormier, if you would check into that.
I certainly will. I can certainly do that, and at this point, I don't know that it's extremely time sensitive and couldn't take another 2 weeks, and I could certainly look into it. So if
Thank
we
you.
want, Mr. President, I think the council has a good point, and I think I'd like to give this one further time. I certainly had a whole discussion with this about the fire chief, but I do think that when you actually read this in detail, it does appear that maybe we only needed $1,070, and I'd like to talk to the mayor's office about it as well. They might have actually made a mistake when they sent it to us as well. So I want to check into it further, and I'm going to ask that we give it further time.
All right, well, let me check with your fellow committee members. Councilor Pauline Cormier
Further time is fine.
and Councilor Angelini.
In the interest of clarity, I would be happy to use the further time.
All right, so we have a new unanimous recommendation on C-72 from Finance for further time. That being said, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of further time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, C-72 has been given further time by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to C-73, is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-53, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requesting an appropriation of $108,250 be made to the Fire Department Capital Outlay Expense Account, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This is regarding a digitized system for fire alarm equipment. I did have a long discussion as well about this with Fire Chief Sidlow, and he did indicate to me that this piece of equipment actually failed recently. It's about 30 years old. They are using some backup equipment at this point. And this new system that this new piece of equipment that they're gonna buy for this system is actually, unlike what they've had, it's actually very easily movable. You can unplug it, move it to a different location. So if there was ever an emergency downtown at Central Fire Station where it's kept, a fire, a flood, any kind of a catastrophe, they could grab this equipment and go and install it elsewhere, as long as there's fiber optics, which is pretty much all over the city at this point. They could bring it to 210 Lancaster Street. They could bring it to another fire station, either in North Leominster or down here on this end of town. They could bring it to the emergency management, wherever they needed to set up operations. So that's one of the good things about this space. And So it certainly is kind of something we were forced into because of the fact that it failed, but we're also at the same time going to have some good upgrades and more capabilities with this technology as well. So it would be my opinion that we grant C-73, and I'll ask that you check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement, Mr. President.
Thank you. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-73. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0. C-73 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, ordered that the sum of $108,250 be made to the Fire Department Capital Outlay Expense Account, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This is regarding a digitized system, fire alarm equipment. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say yea. Yea.
Yay.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, the order has been adopted. We'll move on to C-74. Is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-74, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $4,000 be made to the Planning Department expense account. The same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This is regarding professional review of submitted documents. This is not something customary that we do to the for the Planning Department, but there was a case that was or a subdivision that was challenged after a decision of the Planning Board, and so these funds are required because there's going to be additional fees. They have to go back to court. The city does have to bring back to court the new plan that has been hashed out, and at this point, it needs to be reviewed. This is part of a remand that the court gave to the city to work this out with all the parties. So it would, my opinion, that we grant C-74 so that the city can get this finalized and resolved as required. And I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement as well.
Thank you. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-74. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0. C-74 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order that the sum of $4,000 be made to the Planning Department expense account prior year, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This is regarding professional review of submitted documents. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say yea. Yea.
Yay.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 8-0. Moving on to C-75, is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-75. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $6,000 be made to the Planning Department salary and wages account. The same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. This is regarding to increase hours for administrative assistant on a temporary basis. This also is not something customary that we go through with the Planning Department. But what has happened here is the director is out for a short time, and we are fortunate that there is someone in the office that can and is willing to step up into the position for on a temporary basis to carry out some of the duties that the director would normally be responsible for. And so I would ask that we grant C-75 so that we can sort of maintain some continuity until everybody is well and back into their positions. So it would be my opinion that we grant C-75, and I ask that you check with members of my committee.
Okay. Councilor Pauline Cormier,
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
And I will make it unanimous, Mr. President.
Thank you. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-75. Is there any further discussion?
This is Councilor Frida.
Yes, Councilor Frida.
Do we have any idea whether this could be extended, or is this, I mean, is $6,000 going to be enough? Is this an illness we're talking about, or?
Yeah, I unfortunately at this time I don't have any idea, you know, as far as how long this is going to go for. Certainly, I would think that we only have a couple of months till the end of the fiscal year. That if there's going to be any issues beyond July 1st, there might be some extra money in the budget, and we can talk about it at budget time. But to the best of my knowledge, this will certainly get us through the rest of the fiscal year. But I don't know if it will go beyond that or not. I certainly can find out. I don't know if there's any indication from the mayor's office as to how long, you know, that this will.
Okay, so this is intended to get us to the end of the year.
I would think with just a couple of months left that yes,
Okay.
at least until
All right.
then.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
welcome.
Councilor Frida. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arninger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 8-0. C-75 is granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, order the $6,000 planning the wages account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This is regarding to increase hours for administrative assistant on a temporary basis. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request to adopt the order. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say yay. Yay.
Yay.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, the order is adopted. Moving on to C-77, Mr. Chairman, this is going to require a ratification. Be ready to report.
Mr. President, I would ask that I defer to the clerk of finance because I did abstain from this originally and have to do so once again. I have a family member in the fire department.
All right, very well. Your abstention is noted, and we'll ask Councilor Pauline Cormier to handle the ratification of C-77.
Thank you, Mr. President. C-77, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $250,000 be made to the fire department overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. As you may recall at the last meeting, this was part of an emergency preamble that the fire chief, Chief Sidlow had sent over. He had under budgeted, and I read the letter in at the last meeting, and that was based on him just under budgeting. He was going to be at the end of his funds for the last month, and most of those were due basically to there's a couple of injuries, one person had been called to active duty, and then just other overtime issues that had come up. So, Mr. President, my understanding, we have to vote first to have it the emergency preamble to be ratified?
Yes, we have to ratify it this evening. So your recommendation would be to ratify.
Yes, Mr. President.
And I'll check with the other member of your committee, Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement, Mr. President.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation of the Finance Committee to ratify C-77. Is there any discussion? Okay, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Arninger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 7-0. C-77 has been ratified. All right. We'll now move on to legal affairs, starting with C-63. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Communication 63, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Request that the City Council establish the creation of a Human Rights Commission for the City of Leominster. I'm not sure where that static is coming from.
Yeah, it's a little annoying, isn't it? Can you help us, Madam Clerk, with that at all?
Is that better? I think I guessed right.
I think it sounds
Yeah,
a lot
that's much better.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you very much. We had a subcommittee meeting last Wednesday, and we established another subcommittee meeting for May 12th at 5:00 p.m. And also a deadline of May 7th for members of the public as well as counselors to, if they have any suggestions or proposed modifications to the draft ordinance, or even their own ordinance they want us to consider, to submit those by May 7th. So given those circumstances, the request would be for further time, and I just ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
I agree with that. Thank you.
Okay, and Councilor David Cormier?
I also agree.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-63 further time. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of further time, please say yay. Yay.
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Okay, C-63 has been given further time by a vote of 8-0 with a subcommittee meeting scheduled for May 12th, 2021 at 5:00. All right, moving on to C-76. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Communication 76, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Request the City of Leominster to revise ordinance Chapter 16 Personnel, Article 11 Personnel, Wage and Salary Plan, Division 3, Classification Plan, Section 16-34. Classification of positions be amended effective July 1st, 2021 by deleting in its entirety from the existing table. And I'll read the class title, then the classification. Purchasing agent S8, nurse public health S5, code enforcement inspector S6, plumbing inspector S7, city treasurer collector assistant S5, and inserting in their place the following. Again, I'll read the class title first and the classification second. Purchasing agent S10, nurse public health S7, code enforcement inspector S7, plumbing inspector S8, city treasurer collector assistant S6, and also inserting a new class title and classification as follows: business development coordinator S7. We have to hold a public hearing in regards to this because it is a ordinance change. I'm proposing setting a public hearing for May 10th, 2021 at 6:25 p.m. And I would, ask that we establish that public hearing and that we give Communication 76 further time.
All right. I suspect there's no difficulty with your fellow committee members. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you're okay with that?
I am.
And Councilor David Cormier?
I am also good with
All
that.
right. So we've heard the recommendation of Legal Affairs to establish a public hearing on C-76 for May 10th at, did you say 6:25 p.m., Chairman?
Yes, Mr. President.
All right. Any further discussion?
Yep, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Frida?
to the Legal Affairs Chair through you. Do we have an idea what the purpose, I can assume what the purpose is, but what the plan is for a business development coordinator?
I can certainly ask the mayor to provide a summary, or ask him to, if he could attend the meeting and explain all that for us.
I think if we're lumping all this together, I think we should have some kind of an idea what.
Right, I agree with that. I think that's a great suggestion.
What do we have an idea what the salary is at S7?
I do not. I was gonna, I think some of this stuff we need to glean out at the public hearing.
Right. Okay, because there's some, and I guess the other question would be, from reading the mayor's letter, it appears that these are these all union positions?
Again, I don't know. I think I know, but I'm not positive.
Well,
so
the letter that he
we'll
sent
get all
us-
that out at the meeting.
The letter he sent today, I think the clerk sent it over,
Right.
explaining Greg Chapdelain's position. But there were, I guess I'm thinking of some of the others in City Hall that aren't on here, like the health inspector, human resource, John Richard. I guess just a number of others that aren't in here for an upgrade. And I'm just curious as to what the difference is. That's all.
No, I think those are all great questions, and hopefully we'll be able to get the answers next meeting.
Councilor Dombrowski, I can actually let you know what an S7 is because it's in our ordinances and I have it available in front of me if you want to help with that.
Sure.
So the S7 salary starts at a minimum of $62,430 and maxes out at $80,575, and it comes through with 7 steps.
You say 52 or 62?
It starts at 62, 430.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for that assistance. Okay, well, it would appear, Mr. Chairman, that we need some information to be adduced at this public hearing, that's for sure. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, thank you, Councilor Frida. All those in favor of giving this further time and establishing a public hearing on May 10th at 6:25 p.m., please say yay. Yay?
Yay.
Anyone opposed? Okay, C-76 has been given further time with a public hearing of May 10th at 6:25 p.m. All right, now we have no listed new or old business. Does anybody have anything under the community calendar? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I think Councilor David Cormier was the first in with that. All those in favor of adjourning, please say yay. Yay.
Yay. Yay.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much, all. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll be talking to you real soon. Good night.
Have a good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com.